be applicable to add. So, the things that that contribute to chronic pain due to their toxic load that they create on the body and the fact that they are hard on the digestive tract creates a lot of this inflammation. So all forms of sugar, including high sugar fruits, fruit juice, even in its natural state, has too much sugar in it. So it's important to dilute that half and half. So if you dilute that with alkaline water, and this is where you can get into the higher level, like on this particular machine, the cooking level, which is up at 10.0. You can add that 10.0 to the juice. So you bring up, even juice can be acidic if you're consuming too much of it,
Sure.
or you're drinking it straight. So you want to add some water to that. So all forms of sugar triggers that COX-2 enzyme, can be at the base of triggering the inflammation. Wheat and any grains that contain gluten, as well as all flour products. So these are things that you need to take a look at and really eliminate from your diet. All forms of dairy, except for grass-fed, salt-free butter. Coconut oil works great in place of butter. The other thing is all forms of alcohol. They have a really acidic pH level. All pork, we need to remember that the largest amount of the genetically modified grains are fed to livestock. So that's why it's really important that you have grass-fed raised animals free of vaccinations, and those that ended up, getting sick, that they tagged them with a different ear tag so that, that particular animal wasn't sold to somebody who wants an animal as clean as possible. The other thing is to, on the list to give up is caffeine in the form of coffee and soda and black tea. And then seafood that is the, they're considered dirty, the scavengers. They feed off of the bottom floor, like catfish and carp. Yeah, can't stand either one of those fish, catfish or carp. But the other thing that, what a bummer, shrimp, lobster, crab, scallops, mussels, and salmon. Beware that farm-raised fish, because farm-raised fish are fed grains. Plus, they're also in very, very crowded environment, and there's a lot of things that they develop on their scales that is not healthy. And if that's living on the scales, then you're wondering how is that affecting the meat, and so of the fish, so as well as the animal. Peanuts and non-soaked nuts and seeds. It's really good to. One of the things too I want to point out is peanuts are in the legume family. Peanuts are not a nut.
No.
They're not a nut. And so you stop and think about all of this roasting that they do with peanuts. We don't roast legumes. Legumes need to be, boiled. Bring them to a boil and let them simmer. And that's how we prepare beans and legumes. And so the peanuts are actually a legume. They're not really a nut. But so from the nut family, as far as, almonds and cashews, walnuts, things like that, seeds, sesame seeds, chia seeds. If you're going to use them in smoothies or you're going to use them in recipes, it's good to get some alkaline water couple cups of alkaline water and a cup of nuts, and let that just let that sit overnight, okay, and let the seeds and the nuts become rehydrated, and they're much easier to digest at that point. Unfermented, non-organic soy products. So the only soy products that are okay to ingest are soy products that are genetically GMO free, and then they are fermented. So a lot of the soy milk, it's really not a health-giving food. It can interfere with hormone receptor sites, and also as well interfere with thyroxine that comes from the thyroid. So it interferes with that thyroxine production. Legumes. So what I'm talking about here is these are foods that trigger inflammation in the body, and all pain starts with inflammation. So the inflammation is the root of the problem. So you have to take care of what's triggering the inflammation. And so far what I've gone through, these are all things that they're triggers that set it off. And I hate to tell you, all corn products anymore. I mean, if you're not growing it outside in your yard, and it came from Seeds of Change or any other company that sells heirloom seeds,
right.
You don't need to be eating that corn because it's all GMO.
Right.
And,
even if you have a small house with a small yard, you can still grow corn.
That's right.
I've seen some pretty ingenious placings of corn stalks.
Did you?
Ingenious.
Yeah.
Like you would never think that because they didn't have hardly.
They're kind of pretty. You can. I mean, I grew up in the Midwest, so it's like. Yeah, cornfields. They were everywhere. So, all corn products. So, really a bummer. That if I'm gonna have a junk food snack, I love Fritos.
Fritos?
I love Fritos, but oh well, so much for that. I don't think I've had Fritos though in 5 years.
Wow.
So it's not something that. I buy or eat. I mean, I grew up with them, but yeah, I don't eat them. I love them, but the other thing is canola products. I talked about that before on a past show. Canola oil comes from the rapeseed, and the rapeseed is toxic. So why would we want to eat something that comes from that its natural source is toxic to your body? So the other thing is nightshade foods, and being Italian, that would always be a tough one for me, is tomatoes. Giving up tomatoes.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
I like tomatoes.
That's a hard one, but we also have there's a lot of mushrooms and stuff in there that are, and I don't mean mushrooms. The mushrooms that I'm talking about here to eliminate would be like the button mushrooms, kind of those normal, standard ones that you see at the grocery store. And if you get into the health food store, we've got portobello mushrooms and shiitake, maitake, reishi. Those are all wonderful mushrooms that are immune stimulating and health giving. They're antiviral, antibacterial, so they're very, very, very good for you. All heavily processed and unnatural ingredients like nitrates. You see those in a lot of smoked foods, bacon and sausages. They have nitrites and nitrates. MSG, the monosodium glutamate. HFCS, which is high fructose corn syrup. The artificial sweeteners, artificial flavors, artificial colors, trans fats, the maltodextrin. You see that in a lot of products, and they trigger inflammations in the body. The other thing in addition to these foods that you want to avoid, is electromagnetic fields. So chronic stress is something that your body is out of balance, the polarity, the energy field, and the electromagnetic field is usually pretty off the chart, say in a living room or wherever you have your TV, and then the stereo and all these lights are plugged in, and the whole circumference of the room is the outer parameters of the room is where all of your electrical outlets are at. And those electrical outlets interfere with the body's energy field. Another thing that really interferes with the energy field is electric blankets. And right now with this 0-degree weather and it being colder than a well digger's patoot out there, there's probably a lot of people that are plugging in their electric blankets. And that is, it's not... it does interfere with our body's energy field and brings that out of balance. And when that's out of balance, problems happen with the body. And the other thing is mercury that's still in, in the dental fillings and vaccines. Drinking from plastic containers and the heavily polluted outdoor and indoor environments. And so that's where I was talking about that air purifier that you can call Greg. It's $2.99, and like I said, my 2 air purifiers were $1,500 a piece, and these these units for $2.99. I've got to say, I really wish I would have known about them, because I could have bought 4 of them, and it would have been more, for each level of the house. And
right, we need a couple down here.
Yeah, and one in the entry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's foods. I'm going to go through a list of foods, and the thing about New Year's resolutions, it's like I said, and, in that last couple of months before, the end of the year with kind of kick off with Halloween, and then throughout November with cookies and pies and cakes, and, we don't go into a lot of that, but a lot of people do. A lot of families do.
Right.
And a lot of money is spent on making all of that.
Oh.
And
Billions.
And then you're feeling terrible. And so it only takes really a couple of months to make you feel like, oh, geez, I've really got to make some major changes here. So, we start off with that first of the year. It's like, okay, cleanse time.
Right,
so
that lasts, that might last for about a week or two until they get bored with it.
Well, see, that's what I mean.
That's why I don't make resolutions, man.
People
You're setting yourself up to, set yourself a goal, that obtainable goal.
Yeah, well, that is what it's about. But
well,
I think that with the chronic pain and changing your diet, really what you have to get to the point of, and I'm sure you've heard the saying before, are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? So really, as soon as you come to that point and you can embrace that and wrap your brain around it and pull up from inside of you the strength and the determination to do it and get it done and stay focused, you're still just going to deal with a lot of pain, unfortunately, because it's hard to give up a lot of the foods that I just talked about, and especially sugar. Sugar's always been a hard one.
Sugar is a hard one.
It's really, really a hard one. So some of the foods to get added into your diet, and I've talked about that in the past, is is your green leafy vegetables. And be sure to add to that, like watercress. There's research now that says that watercress is superior way superior to kale. And, we've heard a lot about